Janie Santana filed a missing persons report for her son, Rudy Farias, on March 7th of 2015. Rudy had taken the family dogs for a walk, but they came home without Rudy. 8 years later, Janie Santana called the police to inform them that she had found Rudy outside of a church with cuts and bruises. During the initial investigation, the Houston Police Department stated during a press conference that Rudy was never missing during those 8 years he was gone. Investigators believe that Rudy returned the day after he went missing, and him and his mother have been deceiving police and the community ever since. Police also made it a point to mention that Rudy was an adult at the time of his disappearance. According to Rudy, however, even though he was an adult, he felt like he had to listen to his mother. She was the only family he had or could trust. Rudy's father was a police officer for the Houston Police Department until he took his own life in 2014. Rudy and his father never had a close relationship though, and Rudy's half-brother would take on the role of Rudy's father figure. Unfortunately, Rudy's half-brother died in a motorcycle accident in 2011, and his death took a toll on Rudy and his mother. Rudy says, "She locked me in there pretty much mentally. She was my only parent, the only person that I ever had besides my brother. And when I lost my brother, I didn't have anyone to teach me how to live or how to have confidence or to trust in myself. So I depended on my mom all my life. After he passed away, I wasn't able to love myself for anything anymore." Rudy continues, "I wasn't able to have someone like a father figure. You know, he was my brother, but I never had a dad. I used to have to sleep in her bed sometimes," Rudy said. "Boundaries she would push or make me uncomfortable, and I would say, 'Stop,' and she would say, 'Why? I didn't do anything wrong.'" Rudy says, though mother and son boundaries were definitely crossed, Rudy claims he was never essayed. He says, "It would never be anything like that, just stuff that made me uncomfortable, and I didn't have any references or any other people to bounce off of to understand if it's a healthy thing that she does or not." Rudy said he rarely left home besides going to work with his mother during those 8 years. Rudy explained that an officer had pulled him over when he was driving his mother's car once, but he used a fake name in order to evade police. Rudy says that even when his family was over, he was kept isolated. He says, "I would have to listen to my family be happy and cheerful on the other side of the door, and I would be like, 'I want my family. I want people. I just want communication.' It's like I lived in prison. It's like I lived in jail my whole life. I just wanted to be free. I just wanted to have my own job. I just wanted to live my life. I just wanted to love somebody. Have someone else that would actually love me. I struggle to understand my emotions," he says. Rudy explains that for those 8 years, his mother brainwashed him to believe that he would get in trouble if he didn't go along with his mother's lie. "She never locked me in or handcuffed me or anything like that," he says. "I had free will to leave. It just felt like brainwashing to me. It just kept confusing me. The way she would manipulate me into staying, saying, 'You're going to get arrested.'" Rudy is no longer staying with his mother, expressing that he did not want any communication with her. The investigation of Rudy Farias was suspicious from the beginning. Janie Santana continuously lied to the private detectives she hired to find Rudy. 4 private detectives state that Janie's story about Rudy never added up. "There's something dark and dirty there," investigator Brenda Paradise said. Brenda was a part of a network of search and rescue volunteers and explained that there were red flags from the start. Janie allegedly provided investigators with Rudy's wrong date of birth, and missing person flyers had to be redone, but Janie refused to provide any recent photos of Rudy. "She told me that she thought if he looked younger, that he would get more sympathy," Brenda explained. At the scene of Rudy's disappearance, searchers found an asthma inhaler and a backpack which Janie claimed belonged to Rudy. Rudy never had asthma, Brenda said. The backpack had some elementary school kids' homework inside of it, and that wasn't Rudy's either. Brenda said she's stunned he could have been living at home this whole time. "There were freaking billboards in Houston announcing he was missing," she noted. "I just don't trust anything that comes from that family," she continued. Ryan Grayson, another private investigator on the case, says Janie claimed a woman was holding Rudy hostage in Mexico, so Ryan contacted the supposed trafficker. He recalls she said that Rudy's mom had talked to her. She said, "I told Janie I did not want to be involved in her scam." After that, he bowed out of the investigation. "I've got a strong feeling he was a victim," Ryan added. Barbara and Martin Renteria, husband and wife investigators, also worked on the Rudy Farias case. "She had us searching from Mexico to Louisiana," Barbara said. "All of it was a lie," she continued. After the news about Rudy being found alive spread, Neighbors immediately questioned Janie's credibility. Some neighbors expressed they had no idea why Rudy had been considered missing in the first place because they had seen him around the neighborhood in those quote unquote missing years. Isha Ross, a neighbor, claimed, quote unquote, he used to come to my garage, chill with my cousin, son, and daughter. That boy has never been missing. Isha also claimed that Rudy, who she knew as quote unquote Dolph, would sometimes go to the park by himself. Kisha's cousin, Broderick Conley, claimed that he and Rudy often hung out together and had, quote unquote, laughing good times. Another neighbor who requested to remain anonymous claimed that they had seen Rudy living at his mother's house for years. However, there are neighbors who claim that they haven't seen Rudy for more than 8 years. Janie claimed that the man that her neighbors are saying that they had spent time with was actually her nephew, and even shared a picture of him. Neighbors insisted that the picture Janie showed was not the same man that they had been spending time with. Gilbert Quiroz is another factor adding into Janie's checkered past because he has accused her of bigamy. The pair got married in 2012 when Gilbert was an Air Force veteran, was stationed in Tucson, Arizona. 1 year later, however, Gilbert filed for an annulment in Harris County, Texas. Gilbert explained that he had learned that Janie was legally wed to at least one man and had 4 other potential husbands. The annulment was granted. Relatives have described Janie Santana as a con woman and an internet catfish. She's had different husbands, different names. She's a very greedy person. It's all about money. Santana's sister, Pauline Sanchez Rodriguez, says, another relative called Janie a manipulative person who tries to make people fear her. Unless you really know her, know what she's about, and how she is as a person, you won't really have any fear of Janie. Rudy's cousin, Michelle Rodriguez, explained. The Harris County District Attorney's Office has declined that there are pressing charges against Janie Santana and asked for more time to investigate. Chief Troy Finner of Harris Police Department explained police are continuing their investigation and would not disclose whether they believe that Rudy Farias was a victim or not. That is the end of today's video. Today's video had no murder victim, but it very much so had a victim, Rudy. You could argue that he was an adult and that quote unquote he should have known better, but it's also a parent's job to protect their children and provide skills to help them survive in life. Rudy's mom asking him to lie and manipulating the situation for 8 years, knowing her son was struggling mentally, being so isolated, was just wrong. Now that Rudy is finally free from that environment and is focusing on himself, hopefully he can continue to live the rest of his life happily. Until next time, be safe, Earthlings.